Can take you back to that story coming in. We received a statement from the South African National Defence Force saying it can confirm that there was a shooting incident between the South African soldiers and Mozambican border police. That's on the border close to the area of Ndumo, east of Farazela, along the RSA-Mozambican border. We'll see if we can get you more on that incident shortly. Now, however, a lack of jobs, especially for young people, is a crisis that President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to speak about in the State of the Nation address on Thursday. Unemployment amongst youngsters, 15 to 24-year-olds, is as high as 55%. Well, the South African Maritime Safety Authority, or SAMSA, says the growth of the National Shipping Register could be a catalyst for job creation. A cargo ship called the Windsor Adventure will fly the South African flag and has been placed on a long-term contract with a local mining group, South 32. On the line, we're joined by the acting CEO of the South Africa Maritime Safety Authority, Sobantu Tilayi. Mr. Tilayi, thank you. Tell us about, firstly, about the Windsor Adventure.
Good evening to you and good evening to your viewers as well. South African Maritime Safety Authority has been pushing very hard to revive the ship registry of South Africa. Now, internationally, you have ships that must fly a flag of a particular country. That flag allows for a whole lot of things that of economic benefit, particularly issues of employment, issues of a ship that carries cargo from the country, which is what drives the economy. Now, we've been pushing quite hard, and we've managed to get up to now about 5 ships, the latest registration being the Windsor Adventure. Now, the important thing about the Windsor Adventure is the ship is registered in Port Elizabeth, and it will be the first time a ship that is registered in Port Elizabeth called into the port of Port Elizabeth. And we've been doing this to revive the economy, the maritime economy rather, in that part of the country. That is why we thought we would want to bring this to the attention of the country, particularly as regarding the employment opportunity. The ship will have a whole lot of crew. It is crewed by 18 people. We want the junior staff as a start to all be South African. And in time, you will get more South Africans joining the higher ranks. And as I was saying, it is one of 5 ships, all of which are starting to employ more South Africans on high-paying, dollar-earning jobs inside a ship.
Yeah. And are there opportunities for young people to learn kind of internships to get on these ships and work their way up?
We have got what we call a national cadetship program, where the youth goes to 3 universities: Cape Peninsula University of Technology, Durban University of Technology, and lately Nelson Mandela University. Once they come off those institutions, then they join the ships on a cadetship, apprenticeship, whatever you call it. And once they qualify, then they get employed by the ship to work either as marine engineers or to work as navigating officers. There are also other jobs that are of a artisanal nature. We call them the ratings on the ship. So it is a potential, and once they qualify, they are able to work into any other ship in the world, which is what the South African Maritime Safety Authority is gunning for, because those are international qualifications. And the maritime industry, the shipping industry, employs more than 1.5 million seafarers worldwide. And there is no cap to how many jobs each country can take off that 1.5 million. So we want to bid for as many jobs as we can in the international employment. But before we can do that, we need a ship. We need ships that are going to assist us with the training, because those international jobs are available once the training is completed. So the coming of the Windsor into the fold of the South African registry gives us further ability to do more training.
Okay, so just explain this to me. This is an international trading ship, I understand. There's a South African partner involved, but also a Japanese partner. How does this process work, that you get this ship, even though it's got these dual owners, to be flagged in South Africa, to fly the South African flag?
There is a law of the country. It is called the Ship Registration Act. Now, a ship can fly a South African flag if it meets certain criteria. You must have residence in the country, and it must be a company owned in a particular way. Mainly that it is a South African resident company. So the partnership between the Japanese partners, the Filipino partners, and the South African is incorporated in South Africa with a South African majority ownership of 51%. That makes it a South African ship. Okay. Now, what happens then is that ship is registered here. She is on a trade, South 32 backed trade. She's moving manganese tomorrow from Port Elizabeth to some part in the Far East, I think China. And she is going to be trading all over the world, but she's going to be flying a South African flag. Now, what gives us the advantage then is that South Africa has to nominate which crew drives, operates, repairs that ship. And every country has the first right. It must determine which citizens run that ship. So, in terms of the Ship Registration Act and Training and Learning Regulation, those people working on the ship can only be South African, or can only be people that are permitted by South Africa to operate that ship. And that is where the employment comes from.
Okay, so for job creation, we want as many ships possible flying the South African flag, carrying our own exports. Otherwise, we use other countries to carry our exports. But to what extent is that happening? I think you spoke about 3 cargo ships. I can't remember the exact number, but I understand there are thousands on the seas taking our exports to and fro.
Well, this is the reason when you would recall that there was a project called Operation Pakistan Maritime. And there are 40,000 ships that pass the South African coastline. And of those 40,000, that's annually, sorry. Of those 40,000 ships, there are about 13,000 ships that come into South African ports on an annual basis. And those are the ships that carry the actual trade of South Africa. And South Africa only has 5 of those ships, which call back about 4 times each. So there are about 20 ship calls for the South African ships coming into the port system. Now, we had wanted to bid for a higher number of South African ships carrying South African cargo. Typically, anything up to about 40% of South African cargo. Now, South African cargo, we've got just on 300 million tons per annum, 160 of which is minerals, iron ore, coal, manganese, chrome, and the like. And that is what we are hoping to bid for, because those are on a straightforward trade, and we think that we have a better control over those ships, over how those contracts get allocated. I must mention that between the cargo owners, and in this case, South 32, the other ships are backed by Anglo and Kumba. And that those are the people that give us those cargoes. And we're beginning to develop a very good partnership which tells us that South African registered ships can carry that cargo at a cost not exceeding any international player that carries, that competes with South African ships on South African trade.
So you need local companies, in fact, to become majority owners, to believe in South African ships and know that things can function well with South African crews. How do you make that happen finally?
It is a massive undertaking by the country. What makes a ship register works? We benchmarked ourselves against progressive registries like Singapore, for instance. And they would tell you that they get 0% tax on that shipping. But as I'm saying, then you get to nominate which seafarers you want to use on those ships. And in our case, it's South Africa. You need a favorable tax regime. You need a favorable exchange control regime. You need a very quick turnaround on various decisions, particularly from customs and SARS and the like. And it is that whole package that we put in front of your cargo owners to say that we can get this done at a very efficient rate, like any other registry. As I'm saying, we're competing against Singapore and Marshall Islands and other registries. We've done quite a bit of work in that regard, and thanks to the likes of Home Affairs to facilitate the movement of seafarers, the likes of Treasury to facilitate the policy that we have now, the likes of SARS. We have certain issues that we are assisting industry with regards to SARS and taxation. But there's a big government program that we think that by the time we have delivered on everything, you will have South African ships that are just able to compete as much as, if not better than any other ships in the world. And we think, when we know now that it's possible, we've tried it since 2015, and this is an additional ship. We're hoping for a whole lot, for a few more ships to come before the end of the year.
All right, we'll follow that. Fascinating. We need more South African companies to buy more South African ships that then fly the South African flag, create jobs for young people and take our exports abroad rather than using foreign ships. But like he says, the economy, the environment needs to be conducive to get the investment going in that. That was Acting CEO of the South African Maritime Safety Authority, Sobantu Tilayi.